Hello, Kathleen here from RoboBunnyAttack.com, and today I wanted to do a walkthrough comparing WordPress 3.7 with WordPress 3.8. In other words, Basie versus Parker. Those are the nicknames for those two releases of WordPress. And but before I do a walkthrough, I have a really funny story to tell you. I actually teach WordPress at the college, at the private college where I teach here in Toronto. Called Harris Institute, and I was in the middle of a WordPress class on Thursday. That would have been December 12th, I think it was, and I'm always on my students about making sure that they stay up to date with their updates. But of course, ever since we had started working on WordPress, there hadn't been an update, and so I couldn't really demonstrate to them what it was like and how easy it is to actually update your version of WordPress. So I'm in class on Thursday, and we're all working on our sandbox WordPress sites, and suddenly I see, hey, new update available, and I got super excited because I was like, okay, everyone, we're all going to update our sites. I'm going to show you how easy it is. It's super, super easy. So I went ahead and did that, and lo and behold, we all did that, and then suddenly we ended up with this new dashboard that looked completely different. And you have to understand, this was my first time actually seeing this new version of WordPress, and I'm there in front of all my students going, whoa, this is totally different. And it was actually pretty hilarious. My students are cool though, and so we were just like, hey, let's just learn and discover this together. So it was totally fine, because literally they had released the new version of WordPress at like moments before, like maybe a few hours before my class. So it was pretty cool. That's talk about like, teaching by the seat of your pants. Anyway, as it turns out, the functionality isn't all that different, but you can see here it really looks different, doesn't it? I actually just did a couple sample installations just this morning, just so that I could demonstrate the difference between kind of the dashboard look of everything. And that's the first thing I noticed. The very first thing is that the interface is completely different, and not completely different, but the look of it is really, really different. And this is something that I've been using WordPress for a while, and I got to tell you, this is probably the most dramatic difference or change I've seen in recent memory. This is beautiful as far as I'm concerned. I mean, this is we've got some nice clean typography going on here. Another thing I notice when I scroll up and down like this sidebar stays fixed, okay? There's not really, I'm trying to figure out where is a good example. Well, we'll see this later on. I'll show you kind of a good example of maybe if I go here and I start to scroll up and down, we'll see, how about discussion? This is a good one. There we go. There, see how that, kind of scrolls up and down? I always thought that was kind of annoying. And so now this stays fixed, and it's like, oh, it's so much more elegant. So really pleased about that. The other thing too, and this is kind of, again, a sort of a nice to have thing, certainly not essential, but if you actually go to the users section here, you'll notice that when we go to edit, here's my user account. So far, so good. Everything's the same, right? Except, look at this. New admin color schemes. Check this out. I could change this, and suddenly I've got all these different colors available to me, which is really nice. I think this is one I really like. That's not so bad either, but I think I'm really digging this one. I'll stick with the default for now, whereas before you only had a choice between these two. So nice, really nice, right? But again, not huge functionality changes. But theme management is probably where we've seen the most changes. In fact, I'll take a look here. We'll go ahead and click on Appearance Themes, and right here I'll go to Appearance Themes. Sorry if I'm going too quickly. I'm just super excited to show you this stuff. This is probably the biggest difference I've noticed so far. The way that theme management happens, we'll see, okay, this is what we're used to, right? This is, you've got our current theme up here, available themes that have been installed. And then if you want to install extra themes, you click on the tab over here, and you can search for themes by keyword and everything. Well, check this out. Over here, this looks completely different now. We have kind of this more sort of, I don't know, I don't know how to describe this, but the previews are really lovely. You actually have to click through on the theme to get all the theme details, and that's pretty neat. And of course, a new theme, 2014, and I'll touch on that in a second. The other thing too is if you want to actually install a new theme, they've gotten rid of the install tab, and instead there's now an add new button, which I suppose is actually a little bit more intuitive for new users. So that's cool. This page looks the same, except the only thing I noticed was here we have a new feature you can search by. You can search by accessibility ready. I don't recall that being something you could search for before. And of course, in terms of layout, we now have a choice between looking for fixed layout, fluid layout, and responsive layouts, whereas before we just had fixed and flexible width. So kind of, recognizing that more and more web traffic is happening. Well, more than half of all web traffic, I believe, is now happening on mobile devices. So this whole, being aware of responsive layouts and fluid layouts is really, really important. So that's cool. Those are the big differences. But of course, the big difference is this new theme, this 2014 theme. And I want to show this to you because I have to say I am so stoked about this new theme. And that's not to say, I actually really like 2013. I didn't have a problem with it. I felt it was kind of limiting. There weren't a lot of options for customizing, but let's take a look at this new 2014 theme. Let me take a look. Let me show you what it looks like. I've got them logged in here in incognito mode. And so this is just a default installation. Literally, I just installed this like a few hours ago. And this is just the basic 2013. We're familiar with what this looks like. This is nice. Very focused on blogging. I thought it was very kind of like blog heavy, and that's fine. This is a much more magazine-like theme, and it doesn't look like much here, but wait until we start adding some stuff and you start to see how cool this theme is. One of the first things I noticed, let's switch back to managing the themes over here, the things that we can customize. Let's start with something like the widgets, okay? We've got different widgetized areas, and again, just as a reminder, the widgetized areas are just areas within your theme where you can add and subtract widgets. Our old 2013 theme just had two widget areas, okay, the main widget area and the secondary widget area, and I'm actually going to just pop these things out and just to kind of demonstrate, let's pop some text in here right now and just say this is the main widget area, and then I'm just going to use my trusty old lorem ipsum. Actually, yeah, we don't even need that much. How's that? So I'll go ahead and add that. I always like doing this whenever I'm playing with a new theme, just so that I can sort of wrap my head around what everything looks like, what is the default styling, and how might I want to change that. This is the secondary widget area. Whoops, what am I doing here? Here we go. Lorem ipsum, there we go. Okay, cool. So I've done this, okay, I've added these two text widgets, plain text widgets, super simple. While I'm at it, you know what, I'll pop a search box right up here just so that I can kind of get a sense of what that looks like. Okay, so let's go ahead and see. We'll switch over here and we're just going to reload this and we'll see. Okay, so we have our secondary widget area, which is right here. I was never a huge fan of the way this would overlap here. It seemed like, if there wasn't enough space or if there wasn't enough text or content here, this never seemed to collapse really well. And there's the search box and the main widget area. I mean, aside from the kind of weird overlapping thing right here, this was pretty nice. This is actually kind of cool. I'll go to the page. Here's a nicer implementation of this. We see how this had a nice background and nice and easy to read. And then we've got our main widget area. This was always weird how the main widget area was in the bottom and the secondary widget area was on the side, and I wasn't really used to that. That kind of breaks, my expectation about the main widget area being on the sidebar and then having a secondary widget area in the footer. But that's okay. It was fairly easy to get used to. So that's what the widgets look like, or the widgetized areas look like in 2013. Again, just two widgetized areas available. Let's now switch over to 2014 and let's play around with this, because this is where I started playing around with this, and we were literally playing around with this in class, and I was freaking out. My students, I'm sure, were laughing at me, but I was just like, this is so nice. Oh, I love this. And yeah, I get excited about these things. Okay, so let's say this is the primary sidebar. Of course, they all have different names. That's okay, we'll get used to them. So there's that. Okay, there's the primary sidebar. So I'm going to add a little text box there, some custom text. Yeah, this whole interface looks a little different too. This would probably be a little easier to use on a larger screen. Actually, I haven't even explored. Oh, enable accessibility mode. I don't even know what that means, but that's for another day. We'll play with that another day. This I find because I've got a small, a tiny little, open this up. A tiny little screen here. I end up having to do a lot more scrolling up and down, but I can live with that. That's fine. This is the content sidebar. Okay, let's pop some information in here. Okay, good stuff. And I don't know if it's my imagination or not, but everything seems faster. I don't know if it might just be my imagination. These are both installed on the same, gotta do the same thing here. These are both installed on the same server. So it might just be my imagination, or maybe the software itself is faster. I'm not sure. This is the footer widget area. Finally. You might be wondering, what is she doing? Trust me, this is fun. Okay. All right, we're having fun. So there we go. I've got 3 sample things. Why don't I just pop a search right up here just to see what that looks like. Okay, we're good. Let's take a look at what this looks like now. I'm going to switch over and we're going to reload this, and oh, look at how nice this is. I'm loving this. This just looks so elegant. I don't know. I'm a stickler for fonts and stuff. And so we've got a search bar. So our primary sidebar is over here on the left-hand side. We've got a content sidebar. I love this. This is really nice. It's kind of, I don't know. I just think it's really, really nice. And then our footer widget area down here. I'm just loving this. But here's where I really, really think, another thing that I think is really, really cool is the options you have for the header. It doesn't look very impressive right now. Let's go down to the header section. We're familiar with changing headers, right, in 2013, right? Well, if you've been using 2013. It came with 3 pre-made sort of generic headers, and you could play around with those. There was if you had an image of exactly 1600 by 230 pixels, you could upload that and use that as a header, or you could just, as long as your image was larger than that, you could crop it. And so, we used to have a lot of fun with you playing around with headers in 2013. No default built-in headers here. So what I did was I actually uploaded an image to my media library, and this is actually just a painting from 1807. So in the public domain. So 9 greyhounds in a landscape, because I'm sort of in the mood to see pictures of greyhounds right now. Let's set this as the header. And there'll be an option to crop on the next page. Again, this isn't anything new, really. It takes a little bit of time, but there we go. Let's bring this down. Oh, there we go. Look at these cute greyhounds. Look at them frolicking. They're so cute. Okay, that looks cute. There we go. How about that? Looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and crop and publish this. And here I was saying that this is faster. Maybe it's not faster. Maybe it's just my imagination. Okay, looking nice so far, right? All right, let's go take a look and let's reload this. And pow! Isn't that beautiful? I just think that's gorgeous. I just think that looks so elegant. So, title down here, the little kind of whatever the tagline down here. Really nice. And then we've got the search box right here, and you got this little flip down thing here. I'm loving it. This was always nice. I like the way that would kind of go out, but this is just super, super cool. So I'm loving the header. Something that I tried playing around with and didn't have a lot of luck with was the background, and mostly because my computer screen is just so small that uploading a background image, I just don't see a lot of background. Like, I'd have to actually, bring that down, and then you could see this background down there, but not very useful for me. So I'm not going to play around. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of background images anyways. I just feel that they tend to take up a lot of bandwidth for no reason. But this just makes me happy, because pictures of greyhounds, and I don't know. I'm just really liking the way this header looks. So last but not least, I'm going to show you something. I think maybe this is one of the coolest things, menus. Okay, this freaked me out because again, we were reviewing in class, how do we create menus? How do we assign menus? Menus, are pretty easy to set up in WordPress. You create a menu and then you have to assign it to the menu space. So let's just very quickly here, I'm just going to call this, menu 1. We'll go ahead and create that menu. And then, of course, as soon as you create the menu, you get this little tab here that says Manage Locations, and you actually have to go in and tell it, hey, so the theme says there's one location for menu, navigation menu, and I have to actually assign menu 1. I'll go ahead and save changes. There we go. So here we go. That's looking good. I've got home page, sample page. Let's see what that looks like. I'll just switch over here, and probably is not going to be very exciting. Yeah, we've got our home page and we've got our sample page right there. So fine, right? Very nice. Let's check this out. I'm going to go back here. We're going to switch over to the 2014. Let's create a new menu. Let's just call it menu 1. And we should probably throw a couple things on here. Again, I'll throw the home and the sample page there. Good so far, right? All right, we'll save that menu. And again, we've got the Manage Location tab here. So let's check this out. 2 menu areas. I know there's lots of themes that give you multiple menu areas, but I've never seen it before in a default theme, so I think this is super cool. Top primary menu, let's go ahead and set it menu 1. If we wanted to create a secondary menu, then we could set the secondary menu in the left sidebar to be something else. I only have one menu made, so I'm just going to go ahead and assign them both to the same thing, or to the 2 different menu areas here. And let's check this out. Boy, I really hope that this is all making sense. Can you tell how excited I am? All right, let's reload this. And okay, we've got a nice little menu here. Look at that, home, sample page. And look, isn't that gorgeous? Woo! Okay, check out the, also we can have sub-menus. Okay, let's go ahead and add, here, I'll add robobunnyattack.com. Let's say robobunnyattack. There we go. We'll add that to the menu. And let's just have that be a sub-menu item right there. And then finally, let's also, while we're at it, let's add a link to the Google. Add that to the menu. There we go. Little sub-item right there. Okay, let's save that. And let's see what this looks like. I'm going to go ahead and reload this. Okay, looking nice. So we see nice little indicator. There is the triangle here that tells us, hey, look at that. And, oh, interestingly, the Google is not showing up. Did I not save this correctly? Let me go back. I might be moving too quickly. I'm moving too quickly. RoboBunny Attack is moving too quickly. Let's go back. Let's reload. And there we go. There's the Google right there. Okay, so interestingly, I believe this is probably, it looks like, yeah, it actually extends the tab out a little bit, and we see at the bottom. So this is just because my screen is stupid small, that's all. And then here we've got these nice little, isn't that elegant? I just love the way everything is lining up so nicely. And yeah, you could do sub-menus down here as well too. They worked quite well, but I just love the flexibility that we have here for navigation. I love the places, where this is being set up. Super, super nice. And then we've got this to do that. And anyway, super cool. Last but not least, I'll show you a couple of the changes that have happened within the posts and the pages. Again, this is specific to the theme, okay? If we take a look and we edit just these default things here, we see that we've lost a few formats actually compared to what we had in 2013. Let's go ahead and check this out. Although it's really not that big of a deal because I got to be honest with you, I rarely, if ever, use these formats. We'll see we had 10 different format types here, quite a lot, whereas here we're down to 8. We've actually lost chat and status. The chat and the status post formats are no longer available in the 2014 theme, and I don't think that's any great loss. I haven't even experimented with all these different formats, but that's something I look forward to doing, and I'll probably do that in another tutorial. But for now, that's what we've lost. No big deal there. Also, the pages now, again, super minor, and super minor. I actually think this is kind of nice. Pages, we didn't have any opportunity to change the formats, whereas in here, let me show you what I've got here. Not the formats, the templates. We actually have 3 templates available to us. The default template, contributor page, full width page. What do these look like? I have no idea. I haven't even tried it out yet, but they're there to play around with. So really worthwhile going through and playing around with each of those and seeing what they look like. Again, in 2013, there was no opportunity. There was no option to change the template without going in and editing some stuff. So, oh boy, there is my super fast overview of some of the big changes that I've noticed between Basie and Parker, WordPress 3.7 and WordPress 3.8. If you haven't upgraded yet, I really encourage you to do so. It's always a great idea to stay up to date. I have about a dozen websites, WordPress sites that I manage, and I went and I updated all of them today, and I did not run into any issues whatsoever. And I've got a variety of sites running a bunch of different themes and weird plugins and stuff like that. And you should definitely have backups of everything before you do so. And so I did have backups, but I can tell you that I have not run into any compatibility issues so far, no weirdness. I don't have crazy sites or anything, but everything's been really, really good. So I'm super excited about exploring WordPress 3.8. I'm loving, loving, loving this new interface. It's just so easy on the eyes, and it just makes me so, so happy. And a big shout out to my students at Harris Institute, and thank you so much for being so patient with me as I was learning this stuff while teaching you. One of the rare moments where I wasn't, I was barely ahead of the rest of the class, so it was kind of fun to learn as we go. So that's it. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I love hearing from you. Very, very soon, I'm hopeful that I can put together a new screencast or tutorial series that is specifically using WordPress 3.8 in combination with the 2014 theme. I actually think that we could probably do some really cool things with the 2014 theme that were not possible before. So I'm really looking forward to exploring that and seeing what kind of customization options there are and how we can build really cool websites very, very quickly using WordPress. So thanks so much for your time. Have fun learning and playing with WordPress, and I'll see you next time.